So let's come to a comfortable seat. Sitting up on blankets, maybe a bolster, maybe a block, just something that allows your hips to open up. And then go ahead and close your eyes. Start to just notice the breath. Notice where it wants to go in your body. Don't try to control it. Just start to tune in. In yoga, we're focusing sort of on inner space. A lot of people are focusing on outer space right now, but we're going to focus on the inner space, so the inner landscape of your body. And it all starts with awareness of the breath. So see if you can notice if there's any tension in your abdomen. See if you notice there's any tension in your lower back, in your upper back. See if you can start to invite the breath into those spaces. So that on the inhale, the lower rib cage opens up like an umbrella in all directions. And on the exhale, rib cage, the belly moves back to center. And there's some assistance with the other muscles of the rib cage, but primarily we're thinking about the diaphragm being the prime mover here. And the diaphragm is going to be able to move through its full range of motion better if the abdominal wall is relaxed and not tense, if the pelvic floor muscles, Mula Bandha, is relaxed and not tense. So notice as you start to trust that release of the abdominal muscles, that the breath can be a little bit deeper, and that the ribs can move out to the side a little bit more. And while you're noticing this inner landscape of the breath, of the body, notice that thoughts will kind of drift in and drift out. And see if you can notice those thoughts just as what they are. They're just temporary responses or temporary chemical reactions in your brain. They kind of float across the sky, and then they drift off just like clouds. And as the mind starts to settle, and you can get a little bit more tuned in to the breath, we'll go into a child's pose. So take your blankets, if you like, move them out of the way, or you can float your legs by putting the blankets underneath your calves. And I'm going to do that here so you can see what that looks like. Sort of take some of the pressure off of the knees. You can take your legs a little bit wider here and start to fold down so that the pelvis is hinging over the leg bones. And then bring your forehead down to the mat. And in this position, see if you can start to notice the breath once again. Notice how it changes when you change the shape of your container, when you change the shape of your body. Kind of changing the outer landscape of your body. It's going to shift and change the inner landscape. Come back to noticing that the belly can stay nice and relaxed, and the pelvic floor stays nice and relaxed here. And it allows that breath to be seamless as it moves into the bottom of the rib cage. Upper belly rises just a bit, and then this sort of broadening through the sternum, through the shoulders, as the breath reaches the very top of the lungs. So stay with that awareness here for one more breath. In this position, you'll be able to really feel the back of the rib cage move just a little bit more. We're going to come up with our hips right over our knees and come into a puppy position. Now the arms can be nice and extended. They can also be crossed and place your forehead on the hands. So whichever way you feel more comfortable, see if you can come into that place where the hips are higher than the shoulders. The knees are still well supported, the knees about hip distance apart. And notice how that shifts the breath. That changes the breath. Now the abdominal contents resting on the diaphragm. Makes it a little more challenging for that diaphragm to move through its entire range of motion. So just notice, without judgment, what this feels like in your body. Think about we're exploring all the different sensations in our body. So notice where you feel pressure, maybe notice where you feel some tingling. Notice where you feel maybe a hot spot or burning, or maybe some cold areas in your body. And then we're going to take the arms and we're going to walk them both over to the right side of the mat, keeping the hips right over the knees and the pelvis, pointing still down towards the mat. So the pelvis isn't moving, just the upper body moving over to the right. And you'll feel a really nice stretch through the left side of the body when you do this. And a little bit of a folding in on the right side of the body. And notice how that changes the breath. And we'll take one more breath here. And then we'll come back to center for just a pause. And then we'll walk our hands over to the left side of the mat. Again, keeping the hips pretty much poised right over the knees. And the stretch now on the right side of the body. A little bit of a folding on the left side of the body. Maybe you're feeling a really nice stretch here on the right side. Maybe you're feeling something else. But with the witness mind, the observer mind, we're just able to detach from the sensation and just notice. And then we'll come back to center. And then lifting up your head, we're going to come forward just a little bit, like we're coming into a tabletop. It's a really wide leg tabletop. And then we're going to come almost into a plank here. And then we're going to come back. So just a little bit of a gliding back and forth. So we inhale as we bring the hips back. And we exhale as we bring the hips forward to a comfortable level, engaging the abdominal wall, engaging the pelvic floor. So the inhale brings us back into this extended puppy, and we're going to gently engage pelvic floor muscles as we come forward this next time. So see if you can feel that layers on the abdominal muscles. We'll inhale to release, coming back. Exhale, gently squeeze pelvic floor and come forward. And then we come back into our puppy pose. Hips are high. Take your left arm and thread it right underneath the right arm. So we're coming to lie down on the left side of the head, on the back of the left shoulder. And we start to reach that right arm away from the body and feel a really nice lengthening through the whole right side of the body. Notice the breath changes. We inhale and we exhale. And we notice all the different sensations going on in our bodies right now. And then we'll come back with the left hand, reaching it nice and long on the mat. And we'll take the right arm and thread it right underneath the left. So we come to rest on the outside of the right shoulder, the right side of the head, and the left arm is reaching nice and long. And we stretch through the left side of the body. Changing the shape, changing the experience. And staying with that experience moment to moment. Notice thoughts as they arise. Notice all sensations as they arise with a curious mind. And then we'll come back to center. We're going to sit back into our child's pose for just a breath. Maybe reach those arms just a little bit further towards the front of the mat. And on our sticky mats, if we press our hands down and then encourage the hips to come closer to the heels, we'll get a really nice stretch through the entire back. And then we'll come back up. This time I'm going to take my blankets out from under my knees and we're going to come into a tabletop position. So look down and make sure that your wrists are pretty much parallel with the short end of your mat. Your knees are pretty much stacked underneath the hips. The shoulders, the elbows, and the wrists all nice and stacked. And we'll let the back sag, bring the head up on the inhale. And on the exhale, we'll fold under, gently engage Mula Bandha as you tuck the tailbone down towards the mat, down towards your heels. And then we'll inhale to release that. Coming up on the inhale with your head, with your tailbone, allowing the belly to sag. Tucking under on the exhale, Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. And we bring the chin to chest. Let's go 2 more times, working with your breath. Inhale to release. Exhale, gently engage the muscles. Come into a cat back. And then we'll go 1 more time as we inhale. And gently squeeze and exhale as we tuck under. And then we're going to take the right leg and we're going to bring it back so that the toes are tucked under. And we're going to firmly press forward with the hands as we stretch into that right heel cord. Notice the effort with your arms is what's really creating the meaningful stretch in your right calf. And then come back forward so the shoulders are right over the wrists again. And we'll lift that right leg up. See if you can keep it just as straight as you can. Just shooting straight out from that hip. Watch that tendency to shift your weight over the left leg or let the hip drop. Or maybe you have a tendency to raise it up too high. See if you can keep it nice and parallel with the floor. Take 1 more breath here. And then we'll exhale, bring the right leg down, shift the hips from side to side. Work into that effort that you just produced with your back extensors and with your glutes. And then take your left leg, toes are tucked under, you're going to push forward with your arms. Get a little bit of power behind those hands as they push forward. It's going to bring your leg back and stretch into your left heel cord. As we do this and we're sort of efforting with our upper body, notice what it does to the breath and come back to breath awareness. Keep the breath nice and steady. Notice sensations in your calf, and your shoulders, and your hands. And then coming back so that the shoulders are right over the wrist again, power up the arms and the right leg, and lift the left leg straight up. And the toes are flexed down towards the mat. There's a lot of energy coming up that left leg. So I want you to notice that. Notice the hips, notice the pelvis. See if you can imagine that that left hip is pointing straight down. The hip point is pointing straight down towards the mat. Take one more breath here. And then we'll exhale, we'll bring that left leg back, shift the hips from side to side. And then we're going to come back into our puppy pose again. And from here, we're going to go back into that thread the needle. So we're going to take your left arm underneath your right. So second time through, notice how it's a little different this time. And this time you can stay here, or if you want to take it a little bit deeper, bring that right leg up. So see if you can bring the right leg up towards the ceiling. So now you've got this really nice long side on the right, and you're stretching between the fingertips on the right and the toe tips on the right, really elongating, lengthening, reaching with the toes up towards the corner of the ceiling, reaching with the fingers towards the short end of the mat. Take one more breath here, and then we'll exhale, bring the leg down, bring the arm back, arms nice and long on the mat now, shift the hips from side to side. Notice what you notice, feel what you feel. And then we'll take the right arm and thread it underneath the left, coming back into our thread the needle. And when you're ready, power up that right arm, power up your left arm and lift up the left leg. All the way up towards the ceiling, and there's a reaching of the toe tips on the left towards the corner of the ceiling, and a reaching of the left fingertips towards the short end of the mat. And then there's the breath that's between all of it. So notice, feel all the different sensations that are going on in your body right now. Take one more breath here. And then we'll bring the left leg down, bring the left arm back, the right arm back, and come back into sort of a tabletop, but the toes are going to be tucked under. And you're not going to sit all the way back into your child's pose, but you're going to be somewhere like suspended between a child's pose and a tabletop. The toes are tucked under, the arms are in front of the body. And from here, see if you can lift the hips straight up towards the ceiling into your first down dog. So you're going to power up the arms, power up the legs, lift the hips straight up. You might come onto the balls of the feet here. Keep the knees nice and bent. Keep the shoulders nice and open. And then when you're ready, start to bring the right heel down to the mat and stretch into that right heel cord. And then come back up onto the ball of the foot of the right, and then we'll press that left heel down, stretching into the back of the left foot, left heel. And then come back up on the balls of the feet. Right heel comes down, stretch. Notice the sensation. Might feel burning, might feel slightly uncomfortable. That's how stretching feels. So notice it. Be present to it. Up on the right foot again and down with the left. Breathing in and breathing out. Stay with sensation. And then up on the balls of both feet, try to bring both heels down and really digging those heels towards the mat. Maybe you reach the mat, maybe you don't. It's fine, either way. Most important thing here is that you're keeping your shoulders nice and open and the arms are engaged. Take one more breath here. Exhale completely. And then we're going to inhale into a plank. Exhale into down dog. And inhale, coming down into your plank. Exhale, squeeze Mula Bandha as you come up into down dog. And inhale into plank. Exhale, squeeze Mula Bandha up into your down dog. And then we'll inhale one more time into plank. Drop your knees down, drop your chest down. Place your hands right underneath your shoulders. Elbows are squeezing together, shoulder blades are down the back. Tops of the feet are pressing into the mat. Inhale as you come up for a back bend. Nice gentle cobra. Exhale, come all the way down. Inhale up into your cobra. Opening a little bit more through the front of the body now, broadening the shoulders towards the sides of the mat. Exhale, come back down. Inhale all the way up. This time pause. And from here, we're going to gently engage Mula Bandha. Come back into your child's pose. So all that effort, and then we come back to this place of equanimity, to balance, to witnessing the breath, witnessing the heartbeat, witness to every other sensation in the body. They all belong right here. And then walk your hands back. We're going to put them in the small of your back. So the palms are going to be sort of cupping your upper buttocks. Elbows are going to pull together, shoulder blades down the back. And we're going to rise up on the inhale, find a little bit of a back bend as we lift up the heart towards the ceiling. And then exhale, bring the forehead back down. Now it's still pretty early in the practice, so just keep this nice and easy. So inhale up and exhale down. And inhale up. This time stay up and lift up your right arm and see if you can feel that extension between the right knee and the right fingertips. And then watch your right hand as you bring the right hand back to the back wall. And then bring it down to see if you can find your heel. And touch your heel. Feel what that feels like. And then inhale the arm back up and come back down. And your buttocks comes down to your heels. And then we'll inhale back up onto your knees, lifting up that left arm this time. Follow your arm all the way back. So it's reaching towards the wall behind you. And then bring it down to touch your left heel. Notice what that feels like. And then lift it back up and come back down. So let's try that just a few more times. We'll go up on the right. Follow the right hand with your eyes. Reach for the wall behind you and come down with your right hand, lifting up your left. This time we'll stay there for a minute, not for a full minute, for a moment. So press down with the right to lift up the left and breathe. And you can keep your eyes down at your right foot. You can keep your eyes up at your left hand, whichever one feels better. And then on the next inhale, we'll bring that right arm up and we'll exhale it down. Rest for just a moment. And then we'll inhale the left arm up, follow it all the way around. Bring the left hand back to touch the left heel, and we'll bring the right arm up. So again, the left hand is pushing down to reach the right hand up. Gaze can be up at the right hand. Gaze can be down at the left hand, left heel. Breathe in and breathe out. Take one more breath here. And then we'll inhale the left arm up, both arms up now, and exhale, we'll come down into our child's pose. The child's pose is a bit of a home base. Come back to breath, come back to any sensation in your body, the pleasant ones, the unpleasant ones, knowing that they all belong. Everything belongs. And then as we lift your hips back up again and we come back into the puppy pose, we're gonna keep the elbows down, kind of walk your arms forward as you bring the chin fairly close to the mat, like you're rolling a ball. And then we'll come back into our Sphinx pose for just a moment. Start to feel the forearms press down and drag the elbows back towards the feet as you pull your heart through the shoulders. Keep the chin level. Keep the gaze at the wall in front of you. Breathe in, breathe out. And then we'll slide the hands back under the shoulders. We'll come up into a cobra, back into a tabletop. Keep going, tuck the toes under and lift up into down dog. And so back into your down dog, we're gonna lift up the right leg and come into a three-legged dog. Notice how that feels pretty similar to what we were doing on all fours. The pinky toe on the right is pulling down towards the mat. So there's a little bit of an inner spiral of the right leg. Take one more breath here. Exhale, lower it down. And then we'll inhale the left leg up. Again, find that inner spiral of the left leg where the pinky toe wants to come down towards the mat. And breathe in and breathe out. Exhale, lower the foot down. And then we're going to inhale the right foot again. Now stay here, or if you want to come with me, we're going to do a three-legged plank. So we're going to keep the leg nice and elevated. We're going to exhale as we tighten Mula Bandha and come down into our plank, keeping the right foot up. We'll inhale this time into down dog. And we'll exhale, squeeze Mula Bandha as we come down into plank. And we'll inhale one more time, raising that right heel up towards the ceiling. Exhale, squeeze Mula Bandha. Come down into your plank. Lower the right foot down, lower the knees down, drop your chest down. We'll inhale for your cobra. Exhale back into tabletop, tucking the toes under and lifting the hips back into our down dog. Now we're ready to do that on the other side. So lift the left leg up. Stay here if you like. Otherwise, we're going to go into our three-legged plank on the other side. So gently squeeze Mula Bandha. Come forward into your plank. Inhale to release. Exhale to squeeze. Inhale to release. Exhale to squeeze. Pause for just a moment. Then lower the left leg down. Drop the knees. Drop the chest. Come up into your back bend. Your cobra. Shoulder blades are pulling down the mat here and down the back. Chin is level. And then exhale as you come back into your child's pose. Back to home base. Back to feeling the breath. Back to feeling the heartbeat. Back to noticing all the different sensations in your body. And then walking your hands back towards your knees. We're going to come up into first a kneeling position and then into a high kneeling position with your hands on your back. We'll take that right foot forward and come into a bit of a lunge here. Now with this lunge, we're going to tuck the tail under just a little bit so that we're sort of locking the pelvis into this a little bit of a posterior tilt as we start to lunge over that right leg. The right knee is nicely balanced over the right ankle, and we'll lift our arms up. And keep the breath moving, keep the arms lifting, but find a broadening through the shoulders here that keep you from hugging your ears with your shoulders. So there's a broadening through the shoulders, a lifting with your fingertips. And then on the other end of the body, we've got the right foot pressing down firmly, the right knee pressing down, and the pelvis tucking under. So lots of things going on here. Take one more breath. On the exhale, we'll bring the hands down, bring the leg back, shift the hips side to side. And we'll walk back into our high kneeling and bring the left foot forward. So setting up the pose first, coming into a little bit of a posterior tilt, really pressing down with that right knee, engaging the right glute. So lunging forward through the left knee, right over the left ankle. Make sure that right gluteus maximus is really engaged here. And then we'll inhale the arms up, feeling the lifting of the fingers, the broadening through the shoulders, the grounding through the legs. Breathe in, breathe out. The breath exists even in the midst of all the other things that are going on in the body. Take one more breath here. And then on the exhale, we're going to bring the hands back. And we'll bring the knee back, shift the hips from side to side. Walk your hands back into our high kneeling position. And now we're going to bring the right foot forward again. If you want, you can stay right here. If not, you're going to come with me. We're going to lift those arms up. We're going to tuck the left toes under, and we're going to lift up into a crescent lunge. Takes a lot of lower extremity strength, so take your time. See if you can feel the groundedness through the feet. And the same principles as in our low lunge, we've got a posterior tilt of the pelvis. We've got a lifting of the hands, the fingertips. We've got a broadening through the shoulders. Take one more breath here as we lengthen just a little bit more. And then on the exhale, open up into a twist to the right. So that slow motion twist that we did on kneeling earlier, the fingertips are reaching front and back. So for the walls in front of you and in back of you. Take one more breath here. And then we'll inhale the arms back up. Exhale the hands down. Coming into a low runner's lunge. Right knee comes back to join the left. We shift our hips from side to side. Take a moment to recognize the breath. Take a moment to recognize the heartbeat. Notice thoughts that are entering your head, and just imagine them like clouds just drifting by. They're just there for you to notice. And then bringing the hands back, coming back into our high kneeling. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Left foot plants firmly. So stay here and do it in this position, or come up into the crescent lunge by tucking your right toes under. Finding that stability through the pelvis, through the feet. Arms come up. Fingertips are lifting. The shoulders are broadening. Pelvis is tucking under slightly. Take one more breath as you reach just a little bit longer with your fingertips, and then start to open to the left side. And then the fingers are reaching forward, fingers are reaching back. Drop the left hand down, raise the right arm up. Find a little more length on that side, on the right side. And then on the exhale, come back down. Come back this time into your plank. Stay here for just a moment. We'll drop the knees. We'll drop the chest. Coming up into your cobra. And then back into your child's pose. Home base. Notice the breath. Notice how resilient your nervous system is as it bounces back between these engaged, energetic poses and the more restful poses. Take one more breath here. And as with any practice, you can stay in child's pose as long as you want to. And feel free to join us when you're ready. But we're going to tuck our toes now. And we're going to keep the shoulders nice and open. And we're going to lift the hips straight up towards the ceiling. We've done this once before. So maybe pedal out the legs just a little bit here. Keep the arms nice and engaged. And this time we're going to lift up the right leg. Keep it nice and strong, heel pushing away, toes pulling towards. And then we're going to swing that right leg forward, bring it between the hands, and come back into our crescent lunge. So take a breath here. On the exhale, we're opening into our warrior two. So again, glancing down at your right knee, making sure that your right knee is over the right ankle. The arms are reaching forward and reaching back. So feel that sort of paradoxical movement of fingers are moving out away from the body, but shoulder blades are sort of locking in and holding. Very nice and steady posture here. Symbolism here is that we have one hand in the past and one hand in the future, but we're staying solid, present in this moment. Take a breath in here. We'll start to flow a little bit with these movements. So we'll inhale, straighten out the right leg, lift the right hand up. Exhale, come into our warrior two. Inhale, straighten out the right leg, lift the right arm up, left hand is down the left leg, and then we'll exhale, warrior two. And then if we want to bring our Mula Bandha into it, we release Mula Bandha on the inhale as we reach. We engage Mula Bandha on the exhale as we come back into our warrior two. We'll take one more breath here as we inhale to release. Exhale, coming forward into our warrior two. And then we're going to cartwheel our hands down on either side of that right foot, coming back into a sort of a low runner's lunge. And now here's an option to use a block if you want. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate with the block. So we're going to take all the weight into the right foot, and we're going to power up the right leg and come into a standing split. Now for me, I'm going to put the blocks on their lowest level. That's going to give me a really nice base of support here to explore how high I can bring that left leg. And as I'm working with the breath and I'm folding just a little bit more forward, the left leg is maybe lifting a little bit higher. Start to bring the crown of the head down towards the mat. And breathe in and breathe out. Take one more breath here. And then we'll exhale, bring the left leg to join the right. And we'll soften the knees a little bit. Grab opposite elbows and just allow this sort of standing child's pose, if you will, to allow some relaxation or some releasing to come into those lower back muscles that worked really hard just now. So maybe a little bit of a swaying side to side, a little bit of shaking your head side to side, back and forth. Then I'm going to move my blocks out of the way, place my hands on the mat next to my feet, a little bit in front of my feet, and step back with the right leg and then the left leg. We'll lower down the knees, lower down the chest, come up into our cobra once again. Exhale through tabletop, tuck the toes, lift into down dog. And so pedal out your legs here if that still feels good. We've been doing a lot of work, so make it feel meaningful to you, make it feel something delicious and yummy before we go into that second side. And when you're ready, we'll lift that left leg up. Lift it pretty high as you press that right heel down, the left heel's lifting. And then on the exhale, left foot's gonna come between the thumbs. And we're gonna come up into our crescent lunge here. So find that stability. Find the reach of the fingertips, the broadening of the shoulders, the groundedness of the feet, and then drop the right heel down and come into a warrior two on the other side. So glancing down at your knee, you want your knee over the ankle, and you want your knee sort of drifting out towards the outside of the foot. So it's poised pretty much over that second toe and not falling in. Arms reach forward, arms reach back. And then the paradox of the fingers reaching out, but the shoulder blades pulling in. Really make those arms nice and long. And then we'll straighten out the left leg, bring the left arm up on the inhale, right arm down the right leg. Exhale, squeeze pelvic floor, coming into warrior two. Then we inhale, release, lift, open. Exhale, warrior two, engage Mula Bandha here. Inhale, straighten the left leg. Exhale, squeeze Mula Bandha. And we'll inhale one more time as we release. And we'll exhale, cartwheel those hands on either side of the left foot. And I'm going to bring my blocks back here. If you like, you can do the same. And we're going to power up that left leg and bring the right leg up towards the ceiling for our standing split. Lots of options of how to make this more difficult if you want more difficulty. And that would be that you would grab your ankle with one hand, your standing ankle, and then you'd grab it with your other hand, and you'd come to where the crown of the head is straight down towards the ceiling, and your right leg is up towards the ceiling. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. The head goes down towards the mat, the leg goes up towards the ceiling. And you take one more breath here. And then you exhale. Right foot comes down to join the left. We'll move our blocks out of the way. Place the hands down on the mat. Soften the knees if you like, so that your chest is coming down onto the thighs. Crown of the head comes down towards the mat. And we breathe. So anytime we get the hips a little higher than the chest. We can sort of relax Mula Bandha and just allow the breathing to happen. Allow the organs of the pelvis to sort of drop a little bit higher in the abdomen. So these positions can be really good for pelvic organ prolapse. You can take your feet a little bit wider too, and that might allow you to drop down just a little bit deeper. It's allowing everything to drop up against the diaphragm. Makes the breathing a little bit more difficult, so just notice that. And then take one more breath here. We're going to drop down onto the knees. Come back into our child's pose. Feel the openness through the low back. Touch base with your body once again. And then with your forearms in place, we're going to, just like we did earlier, we're going to, just like we're rolling a ball with your chin, we're going to come down to rest onto your tummy. And Shalabhasana is next. So what we're going to do is, let's bring your arms down by your legs. And we're going to start by just lifting up your right leg. Now we've done this in a lot of different positions. You might find it really a lot easier in this position than in some of the others. So the toe can be pointed, the toe can be flexed. So see what feels best to you. You can also point and flex while you're lifting the leg. Take one more breath here, and then lower down. And then we'll lift the left leg up. Notice if one leg feels heavier. Point and flex the foot. Take one more breath and lower down. And then when you're ready, we're going to keep the hands on the floor and lift the chest up. Shoulder blades come down the back. You can keep the chin tucked, keep the head looking down at the mat if you like. You can also lift the chin and look at the wall in front of you. Whichever way feels more comfortable to your neck. See if you can keep your feet planted down, the tops of the feet pushing down. And then exhale, come back down. Shift the hips side to side. Release some of the tension in your lower back. And then we're going to lift both legs up. So the toes can be touching, heels can be touching, toes pointed. And if that feels good to you, go ahead and lift up the chest, lift up the hands, and the hands are going to reach back for the feet. Shoulder blades pull down the back. Breathe in and breathe out. And exhale, come down with both arms and legs. Left cheek comes to the floor. Shift your hips side to side. And then bring your forehead back to center. We're going to do that one more time. Now, if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can go into bow pose, where we're going to bring one foot up, grab it with the right hand, right ankle with the right hand, left ankle with the left hand, and then we'll inhale everything up, keeping just the tummy against the ground, big toes touching, and there's a pushing out with the feet and a pulling towards of the hands. It's going to really engage those back extensor muscles. Take one more breath here, and then exhale, lower down, right cheek to the floor, shift hips side to side. Come back to that awareness of the breath. And in this position, feeling it more in the back of the rib cage. Bring back some awareness of the heartbeat against the mat. And then we're going to take our hands right underneath the shoulders, roll all the way over onto your back. And go ahead and bring your feet about to the edges of the yoga mat, and we're just going to windshield wiper your knees from side to side. So knees go down to one side and then the other. Allow that ease of movement to creep into those low back muscles, joints of the lower back. Everything worked really hard just now. Now we're going to let the blood flow. Give some relief to those more unpleasant sensations. And then bringing the feet back on the mat. Ankles are right underneath the knees. We're going to press down with the shoulder blades, down with the back of the head, and we'll inhale the hips up into a bridge. And then once we're here, if you like, you can try to crawl your shoulder blades underneath you a little bit more. See if your hands can find each other. The back of the head is gently pressing down, shoulder blades press down, arms press down. Feet firmly planted, all four corners of the feet. And we breathe. And then up on the balls of the feet, move the arms out of the way, and slowly roll down the spine. See if you can engage Mula Bandha as you go down. So the pelvic floor engages. Come all the way down. The last thing that touches is your sacrum. And the feet are going to go wide and windshield wiper the knees once again. And when we windshield wiper, there's lots of different things that can happen with your head. You can move your head opposite your knees if that feels meaningful. Just start to notice what this feels like in your body. And then coming back to center again, planting down through the feet. Now those of you who have really tight hip muscles, especially your gluteus maximus, might find it better to put a yoga block or something between their knees. And so that's going to keep the hamstrings working more evenly and keep the glutes from taking over. So press your shoulder blades down, press the back of your head down. Inhale as you lift up with your hips. See if the hands can find themselves underneath your buttocks. Shoulder blades pulled together. Keeping the back of the head pressed down. Feet pressing down. And it's almost as if you're trying to straighten out your legs by pressing the feet down and towards the wall or towards the short end of the mat. So breathe in and breathe out. And then we'll come up onto the balls of the feet, move the arms out of the way, engage Mula Bandha as you roll down one vertebrae at a time. And then if you use the block, remove the block, bring your feet wider than your mat, and windshield wiper your knees from side to side. And then one more bridge. We'll bring the feet back on the mat. You can use the block or not. We're going to press down firmly with the feet and the shoulder blades, the back of the head, lifting up, finding a connection with your hands underneath, and we breathe. Breathe again and breathing out. Notice what you notice. All experiences are neutral, according to Tolle. Says that all experiences are neutral. We just flavor them with our thoughts, our emotions, and our stories to make them either positive or negative. So notice your tendency to weave a story, grab onto a thought or an emotion. So if you can let that go. Inhale up onto the balls of the feet. Slowly roll down the spine, engaging Mula Bandha as you go. And then bring the knees into the chest. Giving a nice release to the lower back muscles that just did so much work. Popping your feet up and down. And maybe making some circles with your knees one direction. Come back and we'll go the other direction. Finish about 3 times in each direction. Bring your feet up towards the ceiling. Now this is a time when a strap might be really handy. I have super long arms, so I usually don't need to use a strap. But the strap is really nice because when you put the strap around the balls of your feet, you can allow your elbows and your arms just to sort of be resting on the mat and not have to effort too much. Hands are gripping the strap, but gravity is really doing the work here. So breathe in and breathe out. Notice that really nice stretch in the backs of your legs. And then we'll take the right leg out and we're going to point the toe as we bring the right leg down towards the mat and flex the toe as we bring it back up. So however you want to inhale and exhale, you could argue that both lifting and lowering the leg are exertions. And I'm going to inhale on the way down. And I'm going to flex the toes and exhale on the way up. And then I'm going to put the right leg in the strap with the left. And I'm going to do the same thing with the left leg. I'm going to inhale as I lower the leg. I'm going to flex the toes and exhale as I raise the leg. And inhaling as you lower. Exhale, flex and lift. And inhale as you lower. And exhale, flex and lift. And both legs back in the strap again. And this is just like doing a seated forward fold, but we're in this inverted position. And it's a really nice thing to do whenever you feel like your legs are retaining fluids during the day or maybe right before bed. We're going to take the strap off your legs now and then come into our happy baby. So now the knees are going to go wider than the rib cage here. The right arm's going to go inside the right knee and it grabs the outside of the right foot. And the same thing, left leg inside the left knee, grabs the outside of the left foot. So just like a upright squat, but now we're trying to bring the knees down towards the floor gently. And at the same time we do this, we're trying to think about the tailbone sort of reaching down for the mat here. And in that position, we're getting this sort of opening of the pelvic floor area, the bones of the pelvic floor being pulled out to the side and front and back, just widening that space here. And it's a great position to practice our pelvic floor, our Mula Bandha contractions. So inhale to release. And exhale, gently squeeze and lift. Think about trying to squeeze about 30%. Inhale to release. Exhale, gently squeeze and lift. And then one more time, inhale to release. Exhale to squeeze and lift. And then we'll come back to center with our feet and take the left foot down. Right foot is going to come onto the front of the left thigh. Now you can stay here if that's enough stretch for your hip. If you want to take it a little bit deeper, you'll bring that left thigh back up. We'll grab around the thigh and gently pull that left thigh towards our body. You can see that my right arm, maybe you can't see, but my right arm is gently pressing into the inner right thigh. And that's going to keep that sort of figure 4 openness of the right side. So if that feels meaningful to you, do that. You can also straighten out your left leg here if you want to. Get a little bit more into the hamstring stretch on the left. You can play around between bending and straightening the left leg. And then take one more breath here. And we'll lower that left leg down. And we'll lower the right leg down. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So now the right ankle comes to rest on the top of the left ankle comes to rest on the top of the right thigh. You're going to grab the right thigh with both hands. Use that left elbow here to just kind of hold open the left thigh. So a little bit of gentle persuasion, a little gentle efforting here with your left elbow to keep that left hip nice and open. And then the same options here where you can straighten out the right leg, maybe make some circles with the right ankle, flex and point, bend the knee, straighten the knee. Again, we're just exploring. We're exploring our bodies every time we come to our yoga mat. It's such a special time for you to be taking care of your body, taking care of all the sensations that are present at every single moment. And then we'll come back to knees to chest. Just pause for a moment. We're going to go into a trunk rotation now for our closing pose. So you can do that with your knees really flexed like this, or you can bring your feet back to the mat. And you can, again, play around with both of them. I'm going to bring my feet back to the mat and bring my arms up into sort of goalpost arms, cactus arms. And then I'm going to bring both knees over to the right side. Now, when you bring when your feet are flat, you're going to get a little bit more rotation or stretch through the lateral hip there. So if that feels like a really nice stretch to you, then stay there. If this is too much stretch, try bringing your knees up a little bit more. And then you're going to get more of the stretch through the thoracic spine. So just kind of notice which one feels like it's reaching the places in you that need it the most. And then if it's available, turn your head and turn your chin, your eyes over to the left. See if you can see your left hand maybe. And if you want to make it a little bit deeper, you can take your right hand and rest it right on top of that left thigh. And just give yourself a little bit more of an opening through that left hip, through the left side of the body. Exploring, using our curiosity to notice all the different things that are going on in the body here. good, the bad, the ugly, whatever's going on, whatever feels good, whatever doesn't feel good. It's all part of the human experience. And then we'll come back to center. Take your right arm back where it was. I need to move my blankets. And then we're going to come over to the left side with the knees. Again, finding that sweet spot where you feel like you're getting the stretch that your body needs. The openness where your body needs it. Take your hand on top of your thigh if that's available and give yourself just a little bit more grounding through the knees, through the thighs. And then let your eyes drift up towards that right hand and breathe. The major tenets of yoga is this concept of allowing. Allowing and not resisting. And that allowing holds with it the concept of awareness. First become aware, and then we can allow everything to belong. And then we'll let go of the effort on the thigh, bring the knees back into center. And if there's any position you want to go into before we go into Shavasana, you can do that. I'm going to grab a bolster here. So if you have a large pillow or anything to put underneath your knees, do that. You can also put the bolster underneath your thoracic spine. It feels really good that way as well. Bring your hands out to about a 30-degree angle on each side. The palms are open. And it's time to let go of all awareness. It's time to reap the benefits of the practice. And notice that thoughts will still come across, drift off. Think of them like a ticker tape screen. There's just a message running across, and you're just the observer. You're just watching. No effort. When we get into this space where we're totally just being in the moment, we start to feel a flow of energy, a rhythmic intersection with everything that's happening. Everything that's happening outside and our people we run into in the world, we find a resonance. Find a place of all rightness. Everything is all right, just as it is. When you're ready, just start to make some little movements with your hands or your feet. You can also choose to stay in Shavasana longer if you like. Every time we practice yoga and we come back to ourselves. It's like a little tiny rebirth. Gentle with yourself as you start to come back to the sensations in your body, to the subtle movements of your body, to the rise and fall of the chest as you breathe. The movement, that umbrella type movement of the diaphragm, rib cage. And then making some larger movements, maybe with the wrists or the ankles, or rolling your knees in or rolling your knees out. Moving your head from side to side. And then when you're ready, we're going to roll over onto your right side. I'm going to move my bolster out of the way so that I can do that. And we're going to stay in this sort of fetal position as we reconnect. Come to yoga, we're yoking body, mind, and spirit. We start to remember who we are, why we're here. Start to remember our purpose. All the unneeded thoughts and emotions, all the busyness sort of drops away. And then when you're ready, straighten out the top leg, gently press down with your left hand. We'll come back up to a comfortable seat. And close your eyes. Bring your hands in front of heart center with a little space between the palms. Allowing the fingertips and the thumb tips to touch and the base of the hand to touch, just like you're holding this precious stone, this precious gift inside your palms. Take a moment just to explore your inner space right now. Notice the feeling, sensations. Notice the gaps between the thoughts. Notice the pause at the top of the inhale and pause at the top of the exhale. And then on the next inhale, just bring your middle three fingers on each hand away from each other. So we inhale, open up. We exhale and gently bring the fingertips back to touch each other. Feeling the sensation of fingertip to fingertip. We inhale again to open up, receive. Allow. We exhale, bringing fingertips back together. Notice the sensations, small as they are. Inhale to open and receive. One more time. Exhale, fingertips together. And we'll seal our practice today with the sound of one Om. Om can be broken down into three different components where there's an ah, an ooh, and an m sound. So what we're going to try to do is hold each for about 5 seconds. So we'll take a deep breath in. And as the vibrational energy just floats off into space, we'll say namaste. The light in me bows to the light in each one of you.